Test 1, 2. Hello. All right, we're ready to rock. Anybody signing on yet? Appreciate your patience if you've been waiting. I know those of you that are actually coming here to the building here. Those of you that are here, appreciate your patience. Wo chi tanka. Patience. Wo chi tanka. All right. So we'll take off then, hey? Yeah. All right. So, okay. Pidama api. Those of you that are, those of you I would say that are working on your language and language restoration and learning your culture like that, you're the warriors, the modern day warriors that are here to bring back something very special to to all of us. And you imagine in 30 years, we go to a powwow, or 40 years you go to a powwow and not hear any Dakota. That would feel weird thinking about that. And that's the one thing that we're gonna try to avoid, those kind of things. So real quick, we're just gonna catch everybody up to speed. I imagine some of you out there, this might be your first class. I'm working solo today, so good thing I'm long-winded. I could talk and talk and talk and talk and talk. This Dakota culture is I very much cherish it very much. We have the word techinda. I think later on we'll talk about that word techinda because it's a real good word to practice with and to get our the muscles that we need to speak the language. Well, that's a good word to use, techinda. But okay, so we're gonna go ahead and kind of do a recap. I'm gonna go do it real fast. The more and more I have to recap these, the more and more faster I'm gonna get. So you're on YouTube. There's a little thing on there where you can slow my voice down a little bit. Slow me down if you want. If you could. And the good thing is you can go back and forward, however. And then even if some of you guys want to get catch up on the classes from before, you could watch those. Those are all on YouTube, hey, correct? They're stored on there. Cool. Yeah. Okay. Anyway, so we started off. My first lesson was I talked about the word sa. And in Dakota culture, we were taught from our grandparents to seek knowledge. To seek knowledge. Every day, learn something. Don't just be happy with what you know just today. Try to learn something new all the time. And even if you're getting into a little bit older and elderly, they say if you're learning something new, it helps your mind stay strong. So keep learning new things. So the word that I'm going to bring up here is ksa. Ksa. This is going to be a little bit hard here doing it with a microphone, but we're going to make it work. So here's a real clear definition of ksa. It's something that's separated or divided. Ksa. Ksa. I'll show you rather than tell you a lot of times. So if I took this and divided it like that, that would be ksa. Now there's different ways we could say that. If I shot at it with a gun and I shot at it and it divided like that, that would be bo ksa. Bo. The word bo. Bo. Not bo, but bo. Bo ksa. Bo would be the shooting at something. Bo ksa. Bo ksa. Or if you had something in the water like that and you're looking down and maybe you saw some, imagine this, a fish bowl. You have a fish bowl, and then you have a bunch of stuff floating on the top there, and you wanted to separate the fish food, and you blew with your mouth, with wind like that. You blew, and it separates it like that. That would be boksa. You separated it by blowing a hole or shooting at it with something. Boksa. Boksa. Now, if you use your foot this time, it's a little bit different. Naksa. So a lot of times growing up, we didn't have, maybe if you didn't have a saw or an axe and you're chopping wood, getting ready for a fire, we used to put a piece of wood up on the side of something like this, and then you hit it like that with your foot. and you break that piece of that stick in half, then we would say naksa. So like a lot of you guys here, you'll notice if you go into this book right here, if you go into the first word where it says bo, you'll notice the similarity. A lot of the words that start with bo, chances are it's some kind of like a shooting or something along those lines. You'll see the characteristic of this word bo. So naksa. The next thing we have is if I was doing sawing, if I had a knife and I'm cutting some meat maybe, or if I'm cutting another piece of wood like that using a saw, we would say ba ksa. Ba ksa. Cousin the other day, she asked a question, how come sometimes it says ba ksa ksa? So you say it twice. When you say it like that, baksa would be just sawing one piece of wood like that. But if you're saying baksaksa, now you're cutting them into slicing them into little pieces, like a whole bunch of them. Baksaksa. Baksaksa. Yeah. Baksa. So ba would be the sawing motion or the cutting motion with a knife. So when you go into a Chinese restaurant or something like that and you see them cutting knife like with cutting meat, you'd say baksa. Now the other one, if you see them chopping motion with a hitting. Now we're going to go into the word ga ksa. Ga ksa. And then when we write ga, we write it ka. But I made up this little letter right here on my own where I put a little G. It looks like a K and a G. And that makes it kind of like a ga sound. Because we're not saying ka ksa. We're saying ga ksa. Ga ksa. Ga ksa. Ga ksa. So that's a hitting motion. So when you have an axe and you're hitting a piece of wood like that and you split it down the middle, ga. And you know, if you hit like this, if I hit this table, you can hear that. Kind of makes that sound, ga, a little bit. Ga, ga. And so that's a very, very important sound. You hear it in a lot of the language, ga. And it's used in different ways. But think of that letter as that sound, ga. And then later on, maybe we'll think of a bunch of words later on down the road that have that sound, ga, in there. Washtewa daka. Gaksa. Gaksa. So the next one here we have you. This one is any old way, like any way. You're using your hands. And the example that we've been giving here is if you see Kunshi taking the husks off the corn, she's separating it from the corn, you would say yuksa. Yuksa. Maybe she would be taking the corn off with her foot. Maybe she might use her foot and then rip it apart like that, and then go back to naksa again on that one. Naksa. So yuksa, that's the one thing that's like any way other than these other ones. This last one here, this is the same word for bite. Yaksa. Yaksa. That's one of the words that you'd want the little kids to learn, you know, because they're always trying to bite things and, you know, chewing on stuff. You can say yaksa, shni, ye, or wo. You're talking to that one little kid. Yaksa, shni, wo, or yaksa, shni, ye. How's the audio out there? Does it sound good? Cool, 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 cool. Right on. Okay. And so I used the tree of life here. This right here, can you zoom in on that? Can you see that pretty good on there? So this right here is you can consider the tree of life. If you can look at the tree of life maybe at like the Sundance, you'll see this crutch right here. This crutch, and it separates two different sides like that. That would be a ksa. There's a divide. But wisdom, when you're learning a certain way, when you do something a certain way, you break off from that and you try something new. So it's like breaking off, or I used to do something a certain way, now I don't do it anymore. So I split from that way, now I do it a different way. So it makes sense that the word for knowledge is woksa. 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 Woksa, the word for knowledge. So it's always interesting in Dakota how we can just take all these little words like that and then change the word into a different kind of meaning. One word can change it. And then we did the example right here when we put B at the end, not P, but B. B would be more than 2 people, 3 people doing that action. More than two people. Bo-ksa, naksa, baksa. So woksa, knowledge. Boksa, shoot it. Naksa, your foot. Baksa, sawing. Gaksa, you hit it. Yuksa is any old way, with maybe any old way. And yaksa is you're using your mouth and splitting it. Yaksa. So the words to memorize here and the words to really study are wo, bo, na, ba, ka, you, and ya. But if we were to take some of these words and put them on the end of something or different places, they'll mean something else too. Homonyms. Homonyms. All right, so that's that. We went on from that, and the next one we went on to was the word you. And then so this word you, if you go into this book later on, you'll go into the you section. Why you? And you'll notice that when you have you, that word why you is a causation word. If you want to make something happen. So the day is good. It's good already. The day is good, but you're going to make it good. You're going to make the day good. You washed it. You made it good. You washed it. But you'll notice in here, we don't say you washed it. Right? You'll notice that. You'll notice there's no pause right here where we say you washed it. It's you washed it. It all goes into one word like that. You washed it. I'm going to give a little bit of a lesson on that, on how to know when to put it all together. Here's a good example. I didn't even know that our language did this. Here's one of our grandpa's names. His name was His Red People. They called him Ta'oyate Duta. Here's a name. A lot of us here in Sioux Valley are related to this person. He was a leader for the Dakota people. And that's a one way too, by the way, relatives out there. If you want to learn Dakota, go learn the Dakota names. That's a fun way to learn language. Because you'll learn so many names, there's so many names that we have out there. And you'll learn, your vocabulary will go up when you learn the names of your grandpas and grandmas. There's 38 Dakota that passed away in Minnesota, and so it's every year they would say the names, and I would learn, my vocabulary would go up when I learned what does that name mean? What does that name mean? Like that. And so if we look at this name right here, so this part here is talking about the word yuashte and how it all turns to one word. This does the same thing. If we look at this word right here, we're going to want to say ta oyate duta. We're going to kind of make it choppy, hey? Ta oyate duta. When we're learning how to speak, this word for be right here is for his nation that's red. His nation that's red. That was his name. But they used to call him Crow. What was his name? His English name. I can't remember what his name. Little Crow. Little Crow. They call him Little Crow. A lot of us were related to Little Crow. So when I talked about this, when I was learning Dakota, I used to say it, ta oyate duta, but Unkan said, no, ta oyate duta. I was like, whoa, I would have never known that. You know, how do you do that? You know, how would we know? Ta oyate duta. So it becomes one long word. One long word. As we're going along, we'll talk about how to make those words sound correct like that. And so if I put this little dot right here, you'll notice right here, if I put that, then all of this becomes one word. Yuashte. Yuashte. to make it good. You washte. If I put a little dot right here, I'm not going to do it, but if I did, I'd say you washte. You washte. That's not how to say it, but that's how I would do it if I put this little mark right here. But it's going to put this line down here. You washte becomes word. So here's a word for, in our language, ska is white. But if you put the word yuska in front of it, you made it white. But that's the word that they use for clean, to clean it, or to wipe, to make something wipe all this down and yuska. You make it brand new or make it clean, make it neat, that kind of yuska. Okay. This was and then from here, we had this, Tui had a different word for this yesterday too, de and ga. That's how she used that lesson. But this is the one that I always like to know is the difference between he and de. This and that. This and that. And the good way to do this is you'd put something away from you and then put something right here. And you'd say de for this, he for that, over there. Tui used the word ka as well yesterday. Ka. So de washte wadaka. I like this. De washte wadake. He washte wadake. I like that. He washte wadake. I like that. De washte wadake. I like this. De washte wadake. I like this. This I like. This I like. De washte wadake. So that's that difference between de and he. And we used ka as well yesterday. And so if I had two things in front of me here, we're moving along pretty quick. This first lesson, if you want the slower version of this, you can watch the first class. Go to class 1, and there's a slower version of this. We're going to go through this pretty quick. So now I got two things here and two things here. Now this, instead of becoming this, it's now these. These. Dena. 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 For these. Dena. Dena, dena, dena. Dena. Dena, we put on here, wachi. I want these. Dena wachi. Dena wachi. Dena wachishni. I don't want these. Dena wachi. And you'll notice the little nose that how this N is written right here and make a little longer line like that. That means your nose has to vibrate right there. Hey? Dena wachi. If I took that N out, it'll say dance. Wachi. 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 There are two different sounds there. So dena right here is for these. Dena. Dena wachi. I want these. Now for those over there. Those. Henna. Henna wachi. I want those. Henna wachi. Henna wachi. Henna wachishni. I don't want those. Henna. So dena, henna. De, he. De, he. That's why we'd say, he washte. That's good. He washte. He washte. All right. Moving along. There's when I was learning the language, this was my epiphany. This was my big aha moment when I realized I was listening to the old Dakota stories, and there was two spirits, and one was named Ha and one was named Ump. Ha was the darkness, and they said, Ia. I'm not going to go into the stories too much. Here's a good example. Ia was a soft stone like soft stone. It is soft like Play-Doh. And all around it lived And on Ia, there is spirit by the name of And so when you see like the glowing kind of like lava color, that's what you would consider And would be a spirit of darkness. And so later on, the word for nighttime became hayetu. You hear chtayetu as well. Hayetu. Ampetu for the day. So after I realized that, then I realized, man, our words have origins or root words that have history. So I started breaking the words down and realized that they meant more than just daytime or nighttime. They don't just mean those. There's more meaning to it. So when we say ampetu, we're really acknowledging a spirit, the spirit of the day, and there's the spirit of night. Okay, so that's why I brought these up here, and so that's the style on when we're learning the language. We'll take one big old long word, cha, akan, ya, ka, pi. We'll learn 5 words out of one big long word. Chair, cha, akan, ya, ka, pi. But there's 5 words in there, and we'll talk about how we can break those words down and create new words, all that kind of stuff. And so, and this part here, those of you, some of you might be even having a hard time with pronunciation. Pronunciation might be very hard. It might be hard to make certain sounds in the language. And so here's some of the words that are very hard. We don't have 2 consonants that side by side in English. That sound, we don't usually have that. There's usually a vowel in between, in English. But in Dakota, we have sounds that are 2 consonants beside. So the word tke, that's a real hard one to say. Tke, I know that was hard for me because in the beginning, you're going to want to say tke, right? It's going to, your mind in your mouth, your muscles are going to want to say tke. But it's really takes some time to work on it to put it all into one together. Tke. By the way, tke means something that's heavy. Tke, hetke, that's heavy. Hetke, that's heavy. Yeah. And so work on these sounds like that if you can. When you see these consonants together, and then if you can, go visit kunshi or elders, go to the lodge, go visit somebody that has expertise, and then just keep making mistakes, keep sounding goofy. You're going to sound crazy. You're going to sound funny. And that's all right. That's how it is in the beginning. Nobody ever sounds really perfect in the beginning. So another good word to practice is tuchmaga. Tuchmaga. That's a good word to practice your gutturals. If you have a hard time saying ra, ru, ra, ru. If you have a hard time saying those kind of words, then that's a good ra. But a lot of you growing up in Sioux Valley, I was saying last time, always used to say cha. So that's why I know I'm sure you won't have problems with this sound. Tuchmaga. So it's just a way to practice your gutturals. And like I said, those of you, if you can, practice making sound of the bus. And then when it hits the brakes, right? When you're hitting the brakes on the dirt road. And so that's how you'll practice these sounds. Tuchmaga. And it gets easier and easier and easier as it's going along. Maybe wear a bib while you're practicing this word because we spit all over the place. You don't have to worry about it. Just don't speak in the sunlight. You'll be able to see it floating around all over. Yeah. All right. Yeah. All right. Somebody, even one of the bros here messaged me. He said, what's the difference between heched and dechia? Heched, that way. I learned that word heched because of the pipe. Deched ichanu. Deched ichamu. I do it this way. Deched. Deched chungo. Do it this way. Do it this way. Deched. And then what's the difference between deched and hechia? That's what he was wanting to know. What's the difference? And so this one is in term of location. Hechia. Where are you going? Hechia. I'm going over there. Hechia bedekte. I'm going over there. Well, where's that? Just hechia. You don't need to know. Hechia. 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 It's kind of like over there. Over there. Hechia. And then for right here, in this area, we would say dechia. So you'll notice that similarity in terms of proximity. De means more something within your area. He means something just a little bit further. And then this word right here, gakia, is like way over there. Gakia. Gakia. Gakia, south end. Not in that far. Well, if you have no car, then that's a long ways. Gakia. Make little notes like this. Ask yourself, how come you'll notice little character? How come it's all ia at the end? Just make a little note of that when you're putting these words together. I won't go into it right now, but make note of why that's. How come it's kia, ia, he, de, chia? You'll notice these similarities. Oh yeah, so here's a good example of what helped me to understand and break down our language. Now keep in mind, I don't say I'm the right. This is absolutely right. You know, there's absolutely no 100% guarantee on a lot of this stuff. But I've been studying the language as much as I can and realizing these little characteristics that what we have. There's it's hard to not talk about Dakota culture without talking about the history. There is a spirit in our culture, and I'm not going to go into it deeply, but there was a spirit that was rejected in our culture long ago. That spirit was rejected. And when that spirit was rejected, she became angry, jealous, bitter, chanze, chania, nawizi, all of those. She became all of those feelings. And so this is why in Dakota, we make sure that everybody feels important. You're somebody. You're important. You're a something. And this word in our language for something is daku. Daku. That's the word for something, matter. Daku. Daku. And so this word here, a lot of times when you see it in front, me daku, it's like saying my something, or the one that matters to me, daku. And then when we have this word here in our language, ya, to make it simple, if I went like this, go, away, leave, it goes like that. In Dakota, ya. Ya. How did everything go tonight? Washte, ya. It went good. This is the word of movement, moving forward, acting, doing stuff. Mitaku, ya. Mitaku ya, or you can even say yeah, mitaku ya pi. Mitaku ya pi. And then this word here, pi, again, more than one person. Pi. It's not pi, it's pi. Mitaku ya pi. Meaning my relatives are the ones that matter to me, right? Mitaku ya pi. They matter to me. They're something. They're somebody. They're important to me. Mitaku ya pi. A lot of times you'll hear people shorten this. They'll say, mitakyapi. They don't put the whole word in there anymore. Mitakyapi. You hear some people say that. Mitakyapi. All right, so that right there is a good example of how you can really help break down these words and give it more meaning rather than just to say it means relative. There's much more meaning to that than just relative. And to be able to, the word relative comes from being able to relate to each other. So that's a whole different meaning, right? To being able to communicate and relate to one another, to share feelings, that's a different word than mitakuyapi. And so here's a good example here of how we can break down these words. The word for mold, ah. When something is on top of something, we would say ah. The word for upon, I'm walking on the road. Chanku akan mawani. Chanku akan mawani. I'm walking on the road. But you hear that word upon, gun, ah. So that word ah is anything that's on top of something. So you'll be able to go into this book right here and you'll notice the words in the beginning, the word for it's something on top of something. You'll notice the characteristics. And I gave an example of the word here, ahuyapi. So we would say on. The word for to burn or brown would be ru. Burn, ru. Ru. You say this to babies, they'll always reply to you, ru. And then that baby will, ru. They'll say that baby. Ru. And this word right here, it goes, ya. Like washte ya, it goes good, went good. Aruya. They make it go brown on top. Aruya. It makes it go that way. Aruya. Now, if we only had one bread maker in the whole wide world, nobody makes bread, we would never ever use this word pi. We would just say aruya, because it's only one person. But now that we have 2 or 3 or more, or 5 or 6 or 7, aruyapi. 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 When you're learning the language, by the way, break them down if it helps. Instead of trying to say it all in one. Aruyapi. 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 And then after you speed it up as you're going along. Here's the word for morning, or let's say I guess you could say that this word will be used for trauma too as well. Wo-aya. Wo-aya. So look, if you could say, this is aya. On, go. Yeah. Meaning you got stuff on you, like on your shoulders, you're carrying stress, you're carrying anger, you're carrying bitterness from 2 years ago. That guy made me mad 6 years ago, and I'm still mad at him, I'm still upset at that person. That would be considered aya, wo aya. Wo aya. Very, very important word for all of us to learn in this community. Those of the relatives here that maybe lost a family member within the last year, you'd be considered wo-aya, because there's a lot of pain that's on your heart. There's a lot of memories you're carrying. There's a lot of reminiscing that you do. All of that's on your mind, right? It's on your thoughts. It's on your heart. It's on your body. You feel it. So that's why we'd say wo-aya. If it's like that, then you go into inipi. In our culture, when you're going through a hard time, you go inipi, sweat lodge. Well, I don't like the word sweat lodge, but inipi means they're creating breath of life inside. You go inside and that water pour on the rocks and it goes shh, shh. Yeah. All right. So that's the word wo-aya. Wo-aya. The opposite of aya would be ikche. That's the opposite of aya, ikche. You know, those of you that are hunters in our community, you'll notice when you're out looking for deer, you're so peeled in, your eyes, and you're out there and you're looking. You'll notice your mind is really quiet. You're listening for every little piece of wood that might break in the trees or something. You're just listening. And you'll notice how quiet you become. When you get to that level, you be considered ikche. It means you've let go of all your insides. You've let go of all the loud brain that we have. You know, inside our nasu, in our minds, in our brains, it's so loud in there. And so the origin of this word, iki, the inside, che, it's released. And so we talked about this sound, che. You'll notice che ya is to cry. It's a release word. You're letting something go, right? Che ya. Che kia, you're releasing towards. You have a bucket, che ga. When you're pouring out, it's releasing out. So you'll notice a lot of times, like even you can even see where it's chepa. Just a little bit of an exciting thing here. I'd like to give people posted up on news. Just if you could take a little breath and just throughout this year, we're talking about doing some language bowls. And so we'll be having some competitions in the community here throughout the year. And so my sister just messaged me just now, and she's gonna. She's the one. You know, a lot of them, they help out at the language bowl down in Black Hills and Rapid City. We'll have them here. We'll start bringing them here so we can win some money learning your language. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Or Timmy's gift cards, which is the same as money. Yeah, that's her messaging right there. I'm excited. All kinds of exciting stuff going on for language. And right now, I'm not so worried about vocabulary. What's going to happen here too, just so you guys know, I have about maybe 1,000 pictures on my phone. We're going to start putting those pictures up and then just telling, to increase our vocabulary. So don't worry about vocabulary right now. Right now, we're just kind of doing an intro on how these words work and how to build words. That's where we're going. But as we're going along, the school lent me a computer here, and so we'll be hooking it up to the projector, and we'll be putting pictures up here that way. And then the stuff that we see, the things that we see every day, we should know what to call them. I don't believe in making new words though, for microwave and I don't believe in that. Let's keep our language pure. Yeah, iPhone. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, we tried to come up with one the other day. It sounded too crazy though. It's too long. Trying to come up with a word for iPhone. So anyways, so just giving you guys an update on some of the cool stuff that's coming up. And then Randall's always chefing it up here. This afternoon, he cooked sandwiches. So there's sandwiches cooked. Yeah. Yeah, he cured his own bologna and everything. And so, yeah. So here's this word, ikiche. It's your insides are all released. This is what we're trying to get to. This is what you would consider healthy. Your traumas are not affecting you anymore. If you consider a lot of the elders, they get to that level of ikche. Because you'll notice they're real peaceful around ikche. People that live ikche, they don't say bad things about each other. You'll never hear, oh, did you hear so-and-so? You never hear them talk like that because they let that go yesterday. And so what used to help with this ceremony to become ikche is the rising of the sun in the morning and then the sun going down. In other words, when the sun is coming up, it's like a rebirth, hey? And then when the sun is going down, you let the day die. The day has to go with that. So in Dakota culture, some of you could probably say something real negative to me or bad. Next day, I'll treat you like it didn't even happen. You move past. That's a hard way of life, though. And so Just to give examples of how this word is put together, the word for I'm thirsty, ipuza, ipuza or ipuze, inside dry, within dry, or you could even say mouth dry, because E is the mouth too, ipuza or ipuze. If you could say, just to give you an example of how you could use this, just put the word ma right beside E, and it because I am dry inside. I am imapuze, imapuza. I am dry. I am thirsty. Sorry, man, a camera keep walking around. I pace. Or when you go to sweat lodge, let's try not to call sweat lodge. We really call it inipi. Ni is like the breath. Onia would be another, like a breath, but ni is to breathe, right? Ni. We chose on ni, right? We chose on ni. You hear that word ni for breathing a lot of times, for life. And so within breathing by 3 or 4 or 5 or 6 more people is where that B comes from. So let's try to get away from that word sweat, because sometimes I think maybe we kind of diminish its sacredness when we say that's what we're going there to sweat. Yeah, you sweat there, true, but that's not what you're going there for. You're there to breathe with the spirit in the middle, right? Inipi. Yeah. All right. I brought up the word unkche, the same thing, it's to fart. But unk is anciently there was a spirit, and it was a spirit of foulness. They called her unk. We'll talk about this more when the snow hits. And so when you let it go, it's foul, right? And so actually, when you see people in the community or anywhere, they're, I hate that person. Oh, that person's no good, and they're just calling people down. They would consider that spirit is coming out of the mouth of that person. The foulness, there's foulness. So anyway, we'll talk about her down the road, Unk. It's the sister of Maka, by the way, Unk. And so this sound here, she, in our language is so important. I would want all of us to study this sound. In my understanding, the basic compassion, that sound, scientists look at that sound and found out that there's healing. There's a reason why you'll notice a lot of your relatives in the middle of winter time, that fan has been running in that person's room now for 20 years. It hasn't been turned off. That fan is going. That's because there's white noise that comes from that fan. And so that's why we have that sound in our language. Shh. There's a spirit that we have in our culture that has that name. That its name is shh. But it's so old, we put gan behind it. Like this. Because gan, wakankada, unkan. You notice these characteristics. Gan is to become mature or to become older. Gan. That's where that word wakankada comes from. So this word here, shkan, is a spirit of, I would say, spirit of peace, I guess you can call it. When you look up into the sky, the blue sky, that's what they used to call shkan. It's the spirit in the sky, shkan. So when you go up and you fly on the back of an eagle, perhaps in your wildest dreams, and you go up and you fly around, the sound that you're going to hear is shh when you're up there. Go sit on top of that Ferris wheel in Brandon. It's coming into Brandon again. Go stand on top of that Ferris wheel, you'll hear that sound. Shh. The higher you go into the sky, the more you'll hear the spirit of shkan. Also, when you go into nature, you hear the trees, the animals. That's why we call the animals wamaka shkan. Wamaka shkan. They're moving about on the land, on the earth. Wamaka shkan. So we put this sound shh, and we put this sound e together. It creates the sound she. And that sound here, ku, she, dek, she. We even said kuku, she for pig. How come that's considered compassion within? It's like, man, you get a piece of bacon in the morning, that sure makes me feel compassionate. You know, when Kushi makes you bacon, right? Oh man, you feel the love when she's, especially when it's got all that wa she on there. There's that sound again, she, wa she. That sound for the sound that we make for fat, wa she, wa she. Because man, of course, that's why we go to McDonald's. That's why we go to all these fast food, because it has a lot of washi in the food. That fat has been a comfort for us for a long time. When the babies are born, the mother's milk, there's a lot of fat in the milk. So it's so important for our survival. It's comforting. Washi. So you'll notice that she, ta, ha, she, dik, she. I was trying to, some of you elders, we can have a conversation about this down the road. The word ku, and then this word chi, ku is real similar to kud. Kud. Kud and ku, it means to look down. When a long time ago, kung shis used to be on the ground like that, right? And they'll be giving orders. Kung shi sitting on the ground. So below you, there's comfort. And so here's another example for the word for a boy. Ho, ki, shi, da. Later on became hokshida. Hokishida, his voice, the voice is compassion within it, hey? So a lot of times, a lot of you realize this. When you have your own son, it's pretty cool. You feel good. But when you have a takoja, wow, that's even more. You know, you love love the little children. So sometimes it's the little boys. Kushi, I want to help. You know, I want to help. It was such a comfort. Hello. Yeah. So a little something to think about on that one. We can have discussions on some of these words in the future. Tokata kia, towards the future. So here's a couple more examples. The word for, we can say, tu, energy, tu, wakpe tu, energy in the leaves, sisi tu, ihak tu. You'll notice that word tu. Like even if a pregnant lady, I tu, bi. So it's energy within, right? Or like even if you told a lie, if I lie to people, I tu shni. So no energy within. It's a lie. There's nothing. This is why people that tell lies, they don't move you. You don't get moved by them. Only people that are honest, they'll move your heart. They'll get you going. But if a person's just telling you stuff there's no energy, it's not real, no energy within. There's no life within that person. So the best thing you can do to save your life, mitakupi, is be real honest with yourself. Be real honest with yourself. The word for a man, we cha. Wo we chaka. Wo we cha. Ka. That's the word we use for truth. When you're a man, you're not allowed to lie anymore. Only boys lie. Only children lie. Little boys, they'll lie because they're scared. That's natural. When we're afraid, we're scared, we lie. That's how it goes. Lies mean fear, scared. But when you're a man, you have to become a wicha. And you have the impact of a man. Wichaka. I am a man, right? Wichaka. Wo wichaka. That's the word that we use for truth. Honesty. Truth. Wo wichaka. But yeah, when we're kids, that's normal. We're not honest. Who spilt this milk on the floor? Not me. He's scared. He doesn't want to be real with that. But as we get older, we have to take responsibility. 13 years old is when we're considered a man. So I gave examples too with our lettering. You'll notice I put these TDs here, and it takes it away from being a ta to a da. We'd say hetaku. We don't say hetaku. Hetaku. It says hetaku. So it's a TD, right? Sounds like a T and it sounds like a D. Hetaku. Even here, this one here, we're not saying hetaku. Hetaku. It's hetaku. Gu. Gu. You hear that sound? Gu. It's kind of like a K and a G mixed. Gu. Gu. Just as a reminder, we could do it like this. Kind of like a gua and kua. There'll be two different sounds, right? Gua, kua. All right. So do we take a break, or how do you want to? Or I can keep going if they're ready to rock out there. I could still keep going, but it's all up to you. Keep going? Okay. As long as I have coffee, no coffee here. I don't know how I'm functioning without coffee. All right. This is the who, what, when, where, and why, right? Taku, what? You can just write those down. Hetaku, what's that? Hetaku. Hetue, who's that? Hetue, who's that? Hetue, not tue, right? Due, hetue. Tohan. Yeah. Tohan. When? Tohan. Tohan yaukta. When are you going to come? Tohan. Yeah, Tohan. Doked. How? Doked yau. How are you, right? Doked. How? Another one, every little kid should ask this. And I used to hear sometimes from elders, don't ask. Don't ask. I used to ask questions, don't ask. And so a lot of those elders, I stopped asking them, and until I found an elder that I ask, and then they'll tell me. Questions are so important for when we're little. So you should always be saying that when you're little. Dokacha. Dokacha. How come? Why? Dokacha. Dokacha. Yeah.
If you say something wrong, because my son was the one that taught me how to speak. I was fluent as a child.
Yeah.
Got washed out of my mouth.
Right.
At base.
Yeah.
Anyway, later on in life, like teenager, getting up there, and I tried to start like what I remembered.
Right.
And instead of helping me, they would laugh at me. So then again,
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
and instead of helping me, like correcting me, they laughed at me instead.
Laugh at you. Yeah.
So it was just as bad as that day school teacher washing that
Right.
language out of my mouth.
Yeah. And this is the one of the things, kind of going off a little bit of topic here, but not really, because Dakota, we follow, here's a word that we need to learn, especially when we're learning Dakota. Oh my gosh, I'm sure they go through a lot already. Okay, and I talked about this before, about bringing up our Dakota laws. Wa'u, to be, shida. Wa'u shida. To be in a state of compassion, right? So, growing up, we used to hear, oh, shika. We used to hear that a lot. And you notice in a family that has no compassion, you don't hear that. Oh, shika. So if somebody's, that's the feeling that we really should have when somebody's learning their language. If they're struggling, we should have that unshika, to have that opinion of compassion for people. Because that's what being Dakota was all about. Compassion is to live from compassion. The opposite of this would be judgment, right? To judge that person. But at the same time, I do know it sounds funny, but at least explain your laughter. Like, oh man, that's like, we're going to sound so crazy for a while. At least be open about what's so funny. I'm not laughing at you, but I'm just laughing because it just sounds funny. If we could just explain all those things too. Because sometimes, man, I sound so crazy when I first started learning the language. And it was funny, but we are very, very sensitive when it comes to it. And I would guarantee that's why a lot of us aren't here. Because we're afraid of that there's going to be there's not going to be compassion there, right? We're going to be worried about that. So it's so important. It's so important when we're learning the language. And I've been a big fan of Wayne Gretzky. They said he had how many goals throughout his lifetime? Thousands, right? But then he every time he go to shoot 10 shots, he only makes one goal in out of those 10 shots in. So that's the mentality that we have to have here is, man, we're not going to get it right away. We're going to sound crazy. We're going to say some things that don't make sense at all. And I have some stories about that we'll talk about when some of the Kunshis that were from other communities, when they came here, when they were learning, some of the words that they said were just wrong. And man, they still have stories about how they laughed about it. But so I want to talk about that the culture that we want to have in here is the culture of acceptance and compassion. And so wa'unshida, to be in a state of it's okay. You made a mistake. That's okay. Like that. That's where we really want to be at. So if you don't feel this from me in here, or Tui Eleanor, we need to fix ourselves. From those of us that are language learners and teachers as well. And that goes for any teacher, out there. They say if a student loses respect for the teacher in any way, they won't learn. Their grades go down. So sometimes we say, oh, this student is bad. This student is not good. Sometimes it's the teacher. If a teacher makes you feel afraid, then that's just not going to work out at all. And that's one thing we don't want in here is fear. So, where are we here? Okay. What time are we at? 7:18. Okay. Holy man, I've been talking for almost an hour already. Okay. Oh yeah. So this is the word what we're going to talk about. And you'll hear this word a lot. And I'll give some examples here about this word on one level, means us. I'm walking, mawani. And so if Randall got up here and he and I are walking, both of us will say together, mauni. Yeah, so when you're going for a walk with your partner down the road, Randall, and I call you, what are you guys doing? And it's you and Shreese walking, you'd say, mauni do. Mauni. Word for us. Us. Mauni. But it also means am or is. Am or is or are. They are good. They is good. That's why I would say doke dia'u really means how you be. Doke dia'u, how you be. How you be. That's how I ever hear it. When I first started learning the language, when somebody says, "Oh, doke dia'u," in my mind, how you be. How you be. Dokid, how, ya, you, be. And then the question at the end, he. Dokid ya he. Dokid ya he. If I said dokid ya how did you come? How did you come? All right. So that's here's a good example. I talked about how my uncle always used to say to his kora or his brother-in-law, sister-in-law, you're supposed to tease them until you make them cry. You're supposed to be really rough and miserable to your in-laws. Mother-in-law, you're not even supposed to look at them. These are our old teachings. There's one story, they said a man, there was an accident that happened outside, and that man came in, and his mother-in-law was standing in the living room, and he couldn't tell his mother-in-law, but she had a cat. And so he looked at the cat, and he said, "Cat, there's something terrible went on outside." And then that lady went, "Oh my goodness," she went running outside. But that's how strict it was in the old days. You couldn't talk, even if it was an emergency, you couldn't talk to your mother-in-law. And so those unkan, when he would see his brother-in-law, he would say, "Hanach ed ya he." Are you still inside? Are you still within here? In other words, are you still alive? And even almost like they're kind of tease each other, like they're complaining. Geez, you're still here? It's kind of like hoping you'd be gone by now. I was listening to an elder talk on the radio down, I think he was doing like a podcast or something, and they were interviewing him. And he was talking about, he said, in Dakota culture, we had no devils. And he said, the only devil that I have that I know of is my brother-in-laws. He said, other than that, in Dakota, Lakota culture, we didn't have a devil. There was no such thing. But now we have the concept of a devil. But anyway, so that's what the grandpa is. Hanach ed. So means within. Ya is you and u is be. Within you be. Hanach still. Within you be. Within you be. See, if we can train ourselves to talk like that, it'll make much more sense with the language. Hanach ed ya he. Still within you be. Still? Yeah. Hanach ed ya he. Hanach ed ya he. Ho. Hanach ed wa do. I am still within. So that's if talking about myself, this would be wa right here. Hanach ed wa. I am still within. You're not going to get rid of me that quick. Yeah. Yeah, you're not in there. You're not placed inside anymore, right? Yeah. So I guess you could even see somebody that's traumatized, like a war guy, and then you could just tell he's been traumatized with war. They call it shell shock, or like PTSD. You could even say that they're not in there. Yeah, or even it's sadly enough, we don't like to talk about the alcohol, those issues, but somebody that's blacked out, they're not in there anymore. You're not in there anymore. You're gone. And so it's the way we talked about Mr. Jones, the Star Wars guy, Earl Jones passed away. Ed Unshni, wana Ed Unshni. I'm not talking about ya or wa, not you or me. It's just saying Ed Unshni. He's not within anymore. Wana Ed Unshni. All right. Okay. Okay. Cool. I think we're all caught up. We're all caught up. As we're going along, this will be quicker and quicker. Until the ones that are consistent here let us know that we can move forward. But we don't want to move forward until we're all on the same page. We're all together. So you said we'll take a break, take a chandi break, or bathroom break, or whatever. Well, but how long? About 10 minutes? 15 minutes. Okay, we'll come back in 15 minutes. All right. Wa and ya. Thank you, those of you, 16 of you that are online here today and keeping with us. And then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 16. How much? 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 23 people. 23 of you that are watching. We're so thankful. I call you the warriors. The ones that are responsible for keeping our culture alive, our warriors, because there's so many things we could be doing. You could be out to the movies, you could be doing something else, but instead, you're learning your language. So I'm really thankful for you. In the future, you're going to be the ones to keep our culture going, and I'm very thankful that you're here to do that. What's going on? I don't know. Oh, Chad, broke. I can't go. I'm just here because I don't have any money. Whole bunch of us here because we can't afford to get to Brandon. Okay. Yeah. And that's why I really like coming here. Man, we can just have a good laugh. So I'm going to talk about these words, ya, and wa. But in this case, it's going to be actions. You're doing something. Wa, and ya, or ya and wa. And I'm just going to give an example of, we're going to use the root word naji on this one. Naji, to stand. Naji. And I'm going to spell it like this. But if you want, you could do it like this. Naji, with the Z. Or Z in Canada, and back and forth from Canada to United States. Down in the States, they say Z. Up here, we say Z. Z. Yeah. Z. So Naji, but I'll use the J in this situation, just because I feel comfortable like that. Yeah. 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 Okay. So now the first one we'll do, na, wa, ji. Nawaji. Now I'm standing here. Nawaji. Yeah. Then nawaji. Nawaji. I stand. Oh, right away. Now, I always like to do that when I go to the powwow or something. I'll say, "Now easy," and see who looks. Those of you that are learning language, now easy is jealous. By the way, in Dakota philosophy, a person that is jealous, now easy, it means you've lost your connection to your own gifts. You don't know your own power. You don't know your own gifts, so you're comparing your life to others. And so Nawizi, that's why Dakota, they frown on Nawizi. If somebody's Nawizi, it means they got to find creator. They got to find their gifts. They got to find their power. Because if you don't have your power, you're always going to be looking, how come they have that? How come they have big muscles? How come they're faster? How come they can hit the ball further than I can? How come... How come Randall can cure his own baloney and I can't? Yeah. Yeah, you're comparing your life to others. So now easy, we try not to be. Instead, the opposite. You be happy for others that they have the gifts, and if somebody has, they're really good at something, you just work on yourself. Work on yourself. Build yourself up. Build yourself up. We'd say, "Mini head meet ie." I make myself strong. Mini head meet ie. I do it to myself, right? In other words, I have the ability to make myself strong. Sitting Bull talked about that in one of his songs. And he says, "Oh ya teki he chaje maya tapita ni head mi chi wa we hey hey ke ya pedo." So when Sitting Bull talked about that, he said, "When the people call my name, I make myself strong. Or I make myself smart, or I make myself deadly," right? I make myself awesome. So that means you have the power to make yourself amazing. And that's why Dakota, that's where the self-government comes from, right? Because you have that self-determination. You govern your own life. You govern your own day. Nobody's in power of that but you. So now you're going to stand. Na yaji. Nayaji. 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 Should I write it bigger? Nayaji. Nayaji. You're going to notice me saying it over and over. Nayaji. Nawaji. Nayaji. Naji. Tatanka naji. Buffalo standing. Buffalo stand. Tatanka naji. Actually, the word tatanka is for the bull. Ptechchaka is for the buffalo. Ptechchaka. Yeah, but we don't use that word too often anymore. Yeah, it's one of the older words. Ptechchaka is for the regular buffalo people. Tatanka was the bull. Yeah, here, I'll help you. Pte. Not pte, right? So P-T-D, pte, chcha, ka. Isn't it better when we break it down into threes or fours? Pte, chcha, ka. By the way, the word chcha or chche is also to blossom.
So if they were gonna use, say it the old way, it would be
Ptechchaka naji. If it was, well, he must be named after the bull though. Tatanka naji. Yeah, he could have been named after the bull. So it's the bull. The big head honcho right there, Tatanka. If you're Lakota, Tatanka. Tatanka, they'll say. Man, that's hard to talk Lakota. coughing on his coffee here. Yeah, down there they really emphasize the gutturals down there. Yeah, Tatanka, they'll say Tatanka. And if you say Tatanka, they say, no, it's supposed to be Tatanka.
But I'm from Canada.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, real crazy northern, but I'm from Canada. Real wicked northern accent. Okay, Nawaji, Nayaji. Nawaji, Nayaji, Nayaji. Now we're going to do us, right? No. Ooh, there's the word ooh. Naoji. 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 So that's like two people, right? There's only two. Yeah. Us, we are. Us, yeah. Only two. So to make it easy, I, and then you, and then us. Yeah. I, you, and us, Naoji. So that's two of you guys here. You're talking about just two people, right? Naoji. Yeah. Naoji. Yeah. Naoji. Na unji. Naunjipi. That's the other one. We're going to add more than two people. That B right there, right? That's all that we need to do. Now we're talking about, this would be, if you two are standing, two of you, naunji, naunji P, right? Three of you are standing here on this side. Naunji, two, naunji P. The more I say that, the weirder it sounds. I don't know why. You ever notice that when you say a word, even in English, the more you say it, it starts to sound weird? And so the last one we're going to do here now is it's not three of us standing or it's not two of us standing. It's just three people standing over there, right? So najipi. Or two or more. Najipi. 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 All right. Cho, is that a good understanding of those? Of the how we use ya, and wa? Ya, and wa. And then so we'll do a lot more examples of these here in the near future. But this is just an example of what's coming. We'll be able to, and actually most of us are going to be spending most of the time on these. The majority of my classes will be on these. All right, let's switch things. I like to switch things off a little bit. And so one of the students here, she has a recording of a song that was recorded. And so when I first started learning about our culture, I learned through song. Song is the first place I learned. I'd go to Sweat Lodge and pray in English, but the main thing, if I needed to pray, I'll just bust out a song because I don't know the language that well. And Grandpa's always encouraged us to use the language as much as we can in the Sweat Lodge. And the only way I can do that is through song. And so they say, good, Jay, say a prayer. They'd say, I'll just bust out a song right away because the language is in there. But one of the things that I had said, if you're going to learn a song, try to say what you're singing first. Don't just sing it and not know the words. Try to learn what you're singing. And so just recently here in Sioux Valley, we had an anti-suicide walk, a suicide prevention walk today. And there's a way our grandpas and grandmas, they weren't very depressed or anxiety, like what we have now. The main thing that we're dealing with in Dakota community is loneliness. That's the worst one right there. And so we have a cure for that. And when you hear the songs, a lot of times when they say sing a prayer song, you're not actually praying in some of those songs. Actually, some of those songs are affirmation songs. They're affirming something. If you went up today and say, today I'm going to have a good day. Today I'm going to stay positive. Today I am loved. The Creator loves me. If you keep saying those are called affirmations. And so our songs, our prayer songs, when you go in the ceremony, the songs are designed to help you to put your mind in the right place. Put your mind in the right place. Because our minds are all over. So the songs were like guided meditations, guided to help us have the right kind of frame of mind. And so what we're going to do here, this will be a chance for us to learn the four directions. And and also to learn the meaning behind the four directions. So I'm going to write this fairly small. I think we can kind of zoom in back there, hey, a little bit, just because it's going to be a little bit extra words. So I'm going to write it just a little bit smaller. And I'm not going to sing in here just because I'm saving my voice for Black Hills Powwow. It takes me about a good couple months to heal my voice before I can sing. So I'm not going to sing in here. Instead, we're just going to talk about the words that are in this song. And so the first one, when we say the west, we're actually saying towards where the sunshine falls. And when you know the word west is, you'll see the word chpe or chpa is to fall. Wiochpe, the sunshine is falling, or wiochpa, the sunshine is falling. And then when we say ya, it's going that way in that direction. And then takia, towards that direction. Ta is at, kia is towards. And so to break this down, sunshine right here. Fall, away, at, towards. I'll just sing a little bit of the push-up. Those of you who don't know what song I'm talking about. That one. That's the one we're singing. That one. I thought you said you weren't going to sing. So, itushni. Yetushni. So I'll just do the directions first. There's a lot of talk when you talk about wazia. Here's that word at, kia, towards. Takia, wazia, takia, wazia, takia, wazia, takia. Wazia means they made it yellow. There's a story behind that. It goes into the creation story, wazia. When you pass away, you go north first into wazia, and then you go there for a time, and then you go south on the Wanagi Chanku, the Milky Way. Wazia takia. And so they made it yellow. That's the kind of what they and then at and towards. At towards. Wazia takia. There's that word wio, again, for the sun, the sunshine. Wio hi ampa. We used to sing that song, ampa, oh, when the sun is coming up, ampa. There's another song where they sing ampa we. The sun coming up in the morning, it's where the sun rises. Wio hi ampa. And then that same word, ta, again, at, kia, again. Wiohi ampa takia. Wiohi ampa takia. Wiohi ampa takia. Wiohi ampa takia. East, yeah. We're going west, north, east, and then the next one's south here. Sunshine coming up. Yeah, toward. This word kia, if you can keep that, like that's the word toward something, right? Like even if you were to use that word okia, help. Well, that person now, if I say okia, that person's gonna look all around and they're gonna go towards, right? Okia, kia, they're going towards people. Okia, oma kia, come towards me, right? And so when you're asking for help, oh ma kia, you're asking somebody to come around and say, what's going on? Look around, all you know, help you in any way they can. Kia, towards. That's why you'd say tokata kia, towards the future, right? Tokata kia. Tokata is future. Kia, towards. Tokata kia, towards the future. Towards the future. I'm just going to check out something here. On this one, wiyo hi ampa. Wiyo is sunshine. Hi ampa, it's like coming up. Ampa is like a rising up, the morning sunshine coming up. There's a song that down south they say ampa wi, the sun coming up, and they say kodawaye, my friend. Kodawaye, my friend. He's my friend, kodawaye. Where? Oh, ito kaga. Yeah. I've never actually looked into the origin of this word yet. Something that'll be fun to talk about. I was just actually looking in here to see what it might say. To learn the origin, the history of these words. It's so interesting to me. I get lost in this book. Okay. So we'll talk about this, some of the elders. That's why I was saying it's always nice to have the elders around. That's one of the reasons why I wanted to do is to come home and to talk to the elders about some of the words that we have, certain ones that I'd still like to sit down and discuss. Okay, here's a word here we're going to learn. Etu wan. Look. It's to behold or to look at something or to gaze. Man, you see a cow in the field, they're always etuan, 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 etuan. Look over that way. But we're in this song here, you'll notice they always use wo, but for the ladies, yeah. Etuan wo. Look or behold or gaze. Yeah. There's 4 of them there, right? Yeah, 4 directions. Well, you could do above too. Wakata. Not wakata.
So what is the meaning of that bottom?
Yeah, remember that's what I was just saying. We're going to talk to the elders about that. Yeah. That'll be a good one. It has something to do with something that's being made, right? Down south, gaga is to make something. And so I've always heard this word before, but I didn't ever want to assume I knew. But I never had a chance to sit down and say, okay, I wonder what the origins of where that word came from for the south. Itokaga. Maybe even some of the elders would end up messaging us here today from down south or from up here. One of the elders, let us know. So in these first songs here, what we're saying is look towards look towards where the sunshine falls, the west. Look towards etuan wo, etuan. Here, right here too, you notice we're not saying etuan, Etu wa. Etu wa. Here's that word. We talked about this one here. Ni ton ka sh I da. Your energy that strikes you compassionately within. Ni ton ka shi da. That's what we keep people say. It means grandfather. Not necessarily. There's a deeper meaning behind it. Ni ton ka shi da. The energy that hits you compassionately. Ni ton ka shi da. Sometimes you go to sweats, these spirits are, they say the grandfathers are coming. What if you had a really, really mean grandfather in your own personal family? So maybe grandfather might not be a good word to some. For the majority of us, it might be grandfather. Maybe the majority of us had a real loving grandpa. But what if you had a mean, terrible grandpa? Then maybe that word grandfather might not be good. The real word that we could use is tunkashida. Or tunkashi na. Some might say na. I've heard na here in Sioux Valley do as well. Tunkashi na. And then some might even claim Lakota. Tunkashi la. Tunkashi la. Okay, here's another one. Ah. Here's that word. Ah, right? So it's looking upon, right? On something. Ahitua. Ahitua. Gazing at you. They're sitting there looking at you. Ahitua. But in this one, they're going to say, we heard that word yanke, wanke, manke, yanke. That's how we're going to use this word, yanke. We'll break these words down. Once we work on our vocabulary, we'll be able to talk about these words, yanke, manke, wanke, wanka, manka. Ahitwa yanke. Ni tonkash, the energy that strikes you in a compassionate way, ahitwa, gazing at you, sitting there looking at you. In other words, ahitwa yanke. He's sitting there staring at you. Just judging you. No, just kidding. No, spirits don't judge. That's why they say unshia. Like unshia in a humble way. They're looking at unshia. Looking at you in a humble way. Ahito yanke. Ni toka shida. Ahituwa. Oh, I'm sorry, I should have had an N there. Ahituwa yanke. This part? The ahituwa. It's almost like
Just like what you said, the energy of what? Compassion?
the compassion. That's that shi, right? Like kunshi, dekshi, that same energy of family. That's what they have. It's the same energy of a relative. That's why you'll notice that she is in there again. So the energy, tun, ga, strike, shh. That sound, e within, da is what you think. The energy that strikes you in a compassionate way within is what you think, is what I think, is what we think. Tunkashida. Ahitwa yanke. He's sitting there looking at you. Yanke would be the word for sitting or placed or, set. So here's the next word. I know a lot of us now, because of the Bible teachings that we've had, Czechia is translated into the word prayer, to pray. But the ancient understanding, the ancient teaching, release toward. Czechia. Release toward. Che kia. Toward. Che kia. In other words, let go. How many of us in the community can't let go of things? If we have an anger or something, we don't want to let that go. We hold on to that for a long time. But our ancestors, they wanted us to release it, right? Let go. Check, yeah. You have to do it over and over and over. Yeah, I hear you. Actually, the bigger the pain, the harder it is.
Because you think, like, you can't really, like, maybe you say let it go, but a lot of the times you really haven't, because when you have a trigger, you're right back into that same.
Right. And that's why actually our grandpas would say, go to where you're triggered all the time. Keep getting yourself triggered over and over and over. Trigger yourself till you fully, yeah. Don't run away from it, you know? Yeah, and actually be excited when you get triggered, because that's something you know is still there, right? And it's repetitive. I'm going to let it go. I'm going to let it go over and over with each breath. I may be holding on to it the last 5 minutes, but the next 2 minutes, I'm not going to hold on to that. And it's a battle every time. The more you practice it, then all of a sudden you get this feeling of peace, serenity. That becomes more important than the anger. But most people, they say, no, I still want to be chanze. You know, I don't want to let that go because of this and this. I have to be forgiven first. We have to chew him out first. Or maybe if he can go to jail first. No, just let it go. All kinds of thinkings that we have of why we don't let it go, right? There's a reason. Like maybe we want justice first. Or there has to be justice served. They got to go sit in jail first. Then I'll let it go. No, let it go now. Or maybe if he says sorry, then I'll let it go. No, that's another one. You let it go each time. Because you're only, one guy said, how many times, if a relative is mean to me, how many times shall I put up with it before I forgive them? And they said, how many times should you drink poison before you say you don't want to get sick? You know, how many times? So it's poison. Whatever we hold on to is considered poison. And it's going to ruin tomorrow. So that's why. And that's why every day we practice this. We walk this every day. If you have hard time, they said that you have an artery that goes from your heart, from your heart. You hold tobacco in there. You put that in there. Put a tobacco tie in there. And you throw it over your left shoulder, walk away. But a lot of times people would get so used to holding that, they'll go back and dig it up, pick it up. Because they're used to being angry, used to being frustrated, right? And that's what we call wo'aya, what that word we said earlier, aya, meaning they're not ready to let it go. They're still, they still want to hold on to it. There's part of them that still wants to hold on to it. And so, but this is the answer, wochekia, to release. But there's a lot of people that have done that over the years. You know, there's a lot of people that have lived that. And they said the hardest thing though, the most difficult is to forgive yourself. That's harder. And actually they said right now you should do the best you can. Forgive yourself for not forgiving others, because that's harder on you than it is the other person. And so, but I noticed that. I have a lot of community members where I'd say, shouldn't you let this go now? Yeah, but. And then they'll bring up something, right? Yeah, well, he shouldn't be doing that. And then they want to, they're still uhitika. They still want to fight. They still want to, they're not, in other words, not ready to let that go. And there's a lot of people in our community, I imagine, the pain is so intense. And sadly, some will die with it. Sadly. But this is why our philosophy, if I hold on to this, it's going to ruin my parenting. It's going to ruin imagine if I'm still angry at stuff, you'd feel it with me. Oh, he's still mad at something happened. Josh, that happened 40 years ago. How come he's still like that? Like that. So it's real hard. So I hear you, and I'm really glad that you brought it up, because I imagine a lot of people are saying that. Easier said than done. But with our ceremonies, with the right ceremonies, for our ladies too, Ishna, by yourself. Ti, to live by yourself. The ceremonies that our women used to have, those were all designed to help us to chekia, let things go. Yeah, those are all ceremonies that helped us. Ishnati, to live alone. So I'm just going to make that note. I'm going to erase this again because it's going to confuse everything else. But I just wrote that so you guys would see Ishnati, to live alone. Yeah. And so here's the last one. It's just a repeat. Ahituayanke. All right. This is the 4 Direction song. But I'll tell you what this does to the individual. So can you imagine somebody that says, I'm alone. Nobody's here for me. I'm by myself. Nobody cares about me. Nobody sees me, right? Well, with this song, we're reminded that there's spirit in 4 directions. We call it tate topa. There's 4 spirits that live on the 4 directions. We call them tunkashi, tunkashida. And these tunkashi are full of compassion, nothing but love. And actually, one thing, because what we were talking about is the tunkashi that said, if you ever have a hard time forgiving, be around puppy. And then you'll notice sometimes the puppy, little kid might go, get out of here, puppy. And that puppy goes running in the grass. And that say, come here, puppy. That dog will forgive you right away. Well, people say, well, it's hard to do that. Only if you're a human. Animals do it all the time. They're good at that. And that's why we look to the 4-leggeds for guidance, woksape, wisdom. Because if we follow human, we'll be chanze the rest of our lives. But dogs are real good at forgiving and moving forward. So, wiochpea takia etwa. So that's what everybody's look towards. Ni tonkashida ahitoa yanke. Your energy that's sitting there is looking at you in a compassionate way, right? Because how do we know that? Because that's what they do. They're the energy of compassion. That's who they are. They are compassion. And it says, chekia. And we could say, you'll hear people say in the song, wo. Or if a lady's singing by herself, she'd say, chekia ye. Chekia ye. She'd say like that. But men with chekia wo. Chekia wo. With that part, we'd say that. Ahituan heyanke. That part. And so what this song talks about is when you wake up in the morning, whatever you were holding on to yesterday, you let it go. So you imagine some guy saying, oh, let go of yesterday. Help me to enjoy today. And then he's releasing all of his stuff. Bad things happened to me yesterday, and I want to let that go. Help me to focus on today. And you focus on today. And so that's what this song, and that spirit is looking at you, right? Acknowledging you. How many times you go in your own family don't acknowledge you. They don't see you. But those spirits are always going to acknowledge you. And this is why you notice when Cherishing came in, hello, right away. That's Dakota. You're supposed to acknowledge the person. We don't sit there and say, oh, just look away. We don't do that in Dakota. And that's why I always say I love Sioux Valley, because when you're driving around, gee, that guy don't even like me, but he's always waving when he drives by. We acknowledge each other. I saw an old video here of Sioux Valley moccasin tournament. And then a man came in. He's, ho, 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 just shaking everybody's hand. It must have took him 20 minutes to do that. And I remember that when I was a kid, when somebody come into the hall, they'd start way in the corner and shake everybody's hand, acknowledging, I see you. I see you, right? And so that's what we need from Creator, is for them to see us. So men that grow up with this teaching don't have low self-esteem, because they're being seen every day. They're being heard every day. So they'll wake up to this song. This song is a healing song. So hopefully the next time we come together and we sing these songs, and we'll acknowledge that this song is designed to help me to be seen, to help me to be heard. Because it's so important for me to be seen and be heard. How many of you go and talk to relatives? They're all on their phone. We call it abandonment. We're abandoning each other by being on our phone. If you're sitting here talking to me and I'm going to go, yeah, oh, really? Yeah. I'm ignoring you. I'm ignoring you. And this is why in a lot of our community, sometimes you get a relatives, bro, I'm having a hard time. Bro, I'm going through a difficult time. Oh, yeah, gee, well, I got to go to Brandon. I got to do so. They're not even hearing you. They don't even acknowledge you. So this song here makes it where you're acknowledged. Not by people, but by the Creator. By the Creator. So this is why I say in our songs, in our ceremony, we're going to find healing. Especially once we start to learn these words of these songs. Because like I say, most of the time when I go in, when I was learning our songs, I realized, wow, that song is not even a prayer song. It's a guided meditation song. He's telling me how to think. He's telling me how to fix my mind because my mind is all over right now. Now what they're telling me is look towards where the sunshine falls. The one that loves you and cares for you is standing there looking at you. Pray to it. Let go to it. He's sitting there looking at you, right? That's really what we're saying. And so how many times do we sing these songs and people aren't even feeling it? They don't even, they're like just like, okay, now we got to turn to this direction. And they don't feel it. But if we know these, if we know this word, know this song really well and intimately, then there'll be much more meaning in these songs. And so the next time, one of the singers, they sing this song. And I've heard this song being sung at memorials, at feasts and stuff like that. So that's what we want is let's bring meaning back to these songs again and not just a nice song, It is a nice song, but let's bring more power to it. So this song, when you're going, so those of you who are at home, if you're going through maybe a time where you're unhappy and you don't feel loved by humans, that's okay if humans don't love you. What do humans know anyways? It's what Creator that matters more. All right. So in saying that, let's learn one more word. And I don't know how much time we got here. Or maybe, okay. This has been kind of like a long night for me, so maybe we'll end a little bit earlier tonight. Okay, all right. Well, I'll do one. This is, I want to use a lot of words in here that'll bring love back into our community because I think that's one of the things that we lack. If your family has no love, then there's a lot of judgment, criticism. We ignore each other, we fight, we distance ourselves, all kinds of stuff happen. And so let's kind of start bringing up some of the words that bring a lot of love and care. And so here's one word I remember. Heard this one a lot. Techinda. And so you'll notice too, this is an opinion to have a loving feeling towards somebody, right? And so a lot of times if you have a word where there's an opinion, you'll see that da at the end of it. So hopefully, if you're the kind of person that likes to see patterns, Dakota sure is the language for you. Because you'll start to notice patterns after. The root word in here would be techin. And then the da is your opinion of something, right? So it's the cherish. This is the word to cherish. And this is how we should live our lives every day, in my opinion. We should cherish each other. You never know, like how many times, this is one of the things, how much, we have a lot of relatives that passed away in Sioux Valley. Now that could do two things to us. On one level, I can say, oh man, I don't want to love anybody. I might lose them tomorrow. I don't want to get close to anybody. I could lose that person. You could say that. Or I could lose you tomorrow. So I'm going to love you so much. I'm going to techinda you right now. I'm going to techinda you as much as I can. So that's why this word, I'm going to cherish every little hair on your head, every little breath that you have. I'm going to just cherish you. So if I'm going to do it, I got to add the wa. Tewachinda. That's my actions, right? Tewachinda. Tewachinda. I cherish. Takoja gide tewachinda. I cherish this grandson or granddaughter. Takoja kinde tewachinda. I cherish tewachinda. Now the word other one, we can just switch it. Ya, teachinda. You're cherishing. Teachinda. See, just those one little word. That wa and ya. Here's another techinda here. Techinda pi. Now, that's just a few or more people that are cherishing, right? You can say you guys are techinda pi, the language. I cherish Dakota api ki tewachinda. I cherish the Dakota language. Tewachinda. Those people over there, they sure techinda pi the language. Put it in English like that. You techinda me too much. You techinda me just too much there. And I don't like it. Yeah, I forgot to make these little marks on top. And then the right? The nasal, techin. Not, we're not saying techi, it's techin, techin, techin. If you have a hard time with just this sound, isolate it. Put it in a little box and go walk around your house. Go walk around the yard and go chin, 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 chin. Just make it so normal to say that sound. Chin, chin, chin. I love that fact that our kids are learning how to sing, but they're not practicing the gutturals. And so sometimes you'll hear people say, instead of saying techeke, they'll say tekeke. Tekeke, because they have a hard time with the guttural. Wanagi, instead of wanagi. Okay, now we got to do the us here, hey? The us. You guys remember the us? Oh, there you go. That's just two of you guys there. I'm going to use you guys as an example because you guys are always together. We cherish. But you'll notice too, by the way, I'm not putting the TD here, eh? It's actually an actual T. Te unchinda, not te unchinda. Te unchinda. Oh, man. Sometimes my spelling is off, guys. Sorry. Teuchinda. Now we're going to add one more person. So let's say if we added Wookiee into the mix. First, we take care of the us, the us part. Now, just because Wookiee is added to that, pi. Teuchinda pi. More, three or more of us that are cherishing here today. Teuchinda pi. Pretty understandable? Pretty cool? This is a good way to learn? You think? Cool, cool, cool. This one helps out a lot, guys. Zooming in. If you want to buy these on your own, and we'll use these together. You know, this is one book that really helps out a lot. And this one, I know you can get it probably on Amazon and such like that. You can get that. And then also I like using this one. But the main thing though is these don't work without our elders. We got to sit down with our elders and talk with them as much as we can just to relay. And I'll give you an example why. We said 5 minutes, and here I keep going. Yeah. Yeah. Kind of like there's two words, okia and okia. Okay? So I'm going to give you a reason why it's so important to work with your elders when you're working with this book. Here's a good example. Okia is to help. Okia. But you see that little dot right there that made it like that? Okia. Really, when you see that dot right there, it's saying take a little break. This thing right here, it means break or pause. Okia. And so this one, you'll always even say it a little bit more higher too, even just a little bit. Okia. Okia. When I first started learning, I would do it dramatically like that. Okia. Just to train my mind. And then later on, okia. Okia. So look at this. Now, if you were to see this word, which is spelt the exact same, the only thing is the dot is here. Okia. 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 See the difference? That's why we do our best to work with elders, side by side, because you can make a little mistake. This is say it or tell, and this one is help. Okiaka. Tell them, yeah, to tell them or share it or talk about it, you know. Okiaka, tell them. Okiaka, oh, tell them, tell them, tell them. You'll hear it like this too. Okia. This is just that way, but then you'll hear it. I'm just gonna write. You'll hear okiaka. You'll hear it like that in the community too. But I just wanted to give an example of when you're learning this. It's a good thing with this one. This one has those little dots in there where it tells you when to emphasize and when to slow it down. So to simplify it, okia, right? Oki, yeah, right? So that oki, you have to say it first with a little bit more emphasis. Oki, yeah. Okia. Okia. See the difference? Okia. 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 But yet, if we were to see these words, and a lot of times when you see them in the book, that's how they look. And it's just like, don't they mean the same thing? It sure looks the same, right? But yeah, just one little difference. One's right here, and then one dot's right there. Okay, we're all getting ready I'm getting sleepy, yawny. I was going to say, let's have more coffee and we'll do another 2 hours. Let's get all the class done in just a couple weeks. Do this all day long. So those of you that are at home, practice when you can. I'll be getting the email out there. Geez, I tried to look for my email. I couldn't find it, but I have it written down somewhere. Eleanor and I both have emails, and Randall has emails as well. If you want help translating anything, we'll be happy to do that. Maybe if you have an elder recording of your grandpa or Ukushi or Unka, you might have some recordings that you want translated. We'll be more than happy to do that. Also, the project that I'd like for us to work on is each of us is going to learn the language in a different way. Some of us will be learning through prayer. Some of us will learn maybe a few songs. And then some of us will learn through conversing. And I know that's where I'm at right now, is I want to learn the conversing a little bit more. And there's certain vocabulary that I'm still working on. Also, we're going to be getting the projector up. And then we'll be getting some more pictures up here soon. So increasing our vocabulary. I would like for us to learn at least every time we come, maybe 100 words a week. And then slowly graduate that up to more and more. And to get our vocabulary. How many words do we use on average every day? That's the amount of words that we're going to have to work on, right? For our daily existence. The words that I like for us to focus on are what's called function words. So those are the words that toddlers use when they're, orienting themselves and living in the world. And so I know Dee Dee is also going to be working on some of the words that we will be sharing with the kids, like and using it in the daycare. And so that's exciting there too. And so I encourage the elders, if you wanted to come, you're welcome to come or share your comments. Yesterday we had elders that were typing in and sending us comments and giving us their teachings and what they thought. It's going to take a community, I think, for us to all work together. It's not going to be just me or anybody. I know it's going to be all of us. And so with that, we'll finish up for the evening. Pida mapi.